I'm a big basketball fan. I just ran into Gavin Maloof the other day in San Diego, former owner of the Sacramento Kings. So you might have heard of this guy. He's been around for a long time. He's actually a pretty good broadcaster. Grant Napear. So he had to resign yesterday after tweeting "All Lives Matter" when asked by DeMarcus Cousins, former Sacramento Kings player. Doesn't have a very good track record himself of getting into a lot of trouble. Let's put it that way. He was asked about DeMarcus Cousins on Twitter, asked this broadcaster Napear's opinion on the Black Lives Matter movement. He said, "What do you think of BLM?" And Grant Napear responded, and I think he made a big mistake. Now, how big? I'll get into that. He responded by saying all lives matter. Listen, if you talk to an African American today, or you're at one of these protests, and if you hold up a sign that says all lives matter, people are going to get pissed off because a lot of people consider that to be insensitive, and I agree. I think he used very poor judgment. It was an inappropriate response. It's not like he used the N-word. It's not like, that would have been way over the top. He made a mistake. With that being said, the 60-year-old was fired from Sports 1140 in Sacramento. He co-hosted a show on the AM radio station with former Kings player Doug Christie. Here's my opinion on this. I don't think he deserved to be fired. There are certain lines you don't cross. For example, if you're a racist and you say something completely over the top, like calling someone the N-word, so on and so forth. They're saying, these black people are blah, 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 blah. I don't know. All I'm trying to say is there are things that you can say that are over the top and you deserve to be fired. I do not personally believe that this broadcaster reached that level. With that being said, I think he should have, to keep his job, I think maybe apologize, maybe suspend him from the radio show for a week just to say, all right, he made a mistake. Let's move on now. The fact that there are NBA players out there that are supporting this man getting fired is absurd. There are a lot of, let me tell you this.
I would argue it's racist.
Well, I don't think it's racist. I just think it's wrong. I think it's over the top to call out for this man, for forcing him to resign. Listen, there are a lot of bad people out there in the media, and there are Rush Limbaugh being one of them. But just as an example, there are a lot of bad people out there that say a lot of bad things on the radio every day that are far worse, or on social media, that are far worse than what this man said. I'm not saying what he did was right. It was bad judgment. Can we all agree on that? Probably not a smart thing to say when you have an African-American saying, what do you think about BLM? And your response is all lives matter.
Maybe he had a couple friends that owned businesses in Sacramento that were completely looted and destroyed.
Even if that is
you don't know his rationale behind that. And I can tell you racism is not in this guy's heart. Every year he puts together charity events and specifically gives money to different minority groups. I mean, this guy is not a racist at all. This is a fake outrage type of situation. And I'm really curious when it comes to Black Lives Matter. It seems to me that Black lives only matter when a white person is the one that takes the black life. Because why is there not protests every single day, every single weekend in Chicago, where 30 to 35 African American men basically die every couple of weeks?
All right. Well, here's why
is that not taking place? Right? Why is this outrage associated with this police officer situation? And obviously, this guy did something terrible.
Can I answer what you just said?
But there are a lot of death that takes place across the country, and a lot of it is African American to African American, and that is not being protested. Why is it only Caucasian to African American death that's being protested?
Can I please respond to your question?
Absolutely. Please do.
There were 4 officers that were involved in Minneapolis.
You're right.
One of them was an African American. One of them was Hispanic. One of them was Asian. So I have absolutely no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Derek, the one, I mean, when you watch the video, you see that Caucasian police officer.
They want the African American arrested. They want the Hispanic arrested.
No,
what are you talking about?
You see Derek Chauvin.
Because he was the leader of it.
Exactly.
But they want the other 3 officers held accountable. So you're wrong. It's not just about white versus black.
Wrong, Brian. Then why is BLM not in Chicago every single weekend protesting?
I will answer you that question because the majority of the deaths that – hold on. You're about to interrupt me again. Let me answer your question. The majority of the homicides and the deaths in Chicago are not police brutality, and they're not police versus African Americans. The majority of the people that are dying in Chicago is black-on-black crime. They are talking about police and their relationship and police brutality versus African Americans. You also just said something that is not factually accurate. As I said, among these 4 officers, sure, one of them is white, one of them is Hispanic, one of them is black, and one of them is Asian. The majority of these Black Lives Matter people throughout the country want accountability, not just for the white officer. They want accountability for all officers. Hold on. And not just in this situation, but all officers throughout the country.
So
you are wrong.
You're only saying that Black Lives Matter applies to police brutality and not black people dying across the country.
Listen, these
because
people,
it should.
Okay,
it should.
Okay.
If Black Lives
right.
Matter, it shouldn't be a situation where the outrage is applied when a police officer is the one that takes a black life.
That's your opinion.
It's not an opinion, Brian.
What you just said 5 minutes ago was not factually
this is happening. No, in my opinion,
it's not.
How is it not?
Because there's an African American.
Derek Chauvin is the one that everybody sees.
Right.
You see him.
All right, JD.
That's who you see.
What I just said,
he's the one that put the knee on the neck.
All right. What I just said makes your argument make zero sense.
It doesn't
I'll repeat it.
Brian.
Okay, so that's fine. I'll repeat it one more time, and then we'll open up the phone lines. Of these 4 officers, one of them is black, one of them is Hispanic, one of them is Asian, one of them is white, and among the BLM protesters throughout the country, they have been very consistent in saying they want all the officers involved in this to be held accountable. I haven't heard one member of Black Lives Matter that has said, we want white officers. Hold on. You're about to interrupt me
No
again.
one has to say
I was
anything,
right.
Brian.
Okay, let me finish.
Actions speak louder than words in this situation.
Let me finish. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Of course I do.
No, you don't. Now, I haven't heard one Black Lives Matter member say, we just want white officers held accountable. Not one BLM member has said that. They are saying they want police officers held accountable, regardless of what the color of their skin is. They are tired of something called police brutality, and it doesn't matter what the color of their skin is. And this situation in Minneapolis is a perfect example of that. It's not just one white cop. It's somebody who is black, somebody who is Hispanic, and somebody who is Asian. I want to open up the phone lines right now. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, if you want to be a part of this conversation, 702-257-5396. We want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this TV broadcaster in Sacramento? I'm actually taking his side, even though I think he should apologize. And I think, maybe a suspension, but I don't think it rose to the level of being fired for saying Black Lives Matter. DeMarcus Cousins saying, what's your opinion on BLM? And he says all lives matter. That's all. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's start off with Bob. Bob, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Bob?
Okay. The protesters were planned way before George Floyd was killed.
What is your evidence of that?
If it wasn't for him, it's something else would ignite him during this summer.
What is your evidence to make a claim that all these?
I don't have evidence.
Okay.
It's a theory.
His opinion.
It's a theory.
So,
if it wasn't
so,
for him,
so it's a
something else
conspiracy
would
theory.
more.
All right. Well, you have no. Well, hold on a second. Let's go with that for a second, sir. You're entitled to your opinion. But when you tell me you have zero evidence to back up a theory or an opinion, that's what one person would call a conspiracy theory.
No, it's a
sir.
theory.
You're right. Okay, I'm going to go someplace. Who's paying these protesters? There are thousands.
No evidence. There is, again, it's another conspiracy theory. Please give me any evidence that would lead you to believe that any of these protesters are being paid. Go.
Video online.
I didn't ask you, JD. I asked the caller.
Okay.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, okay. Maybe get one of them and find out who's paying the bill.
So you have no evidence for that either. So do you have any other conspiracy theories?
Somebody has to be paying the bill. The name has to be on the bill.
Brian loves to use the word evidence.
You have zero.
Two days ago, two days ago, the
Brian
person that instigated the violence in Pittsburgh was arrested.
Okay. Can I have a conversation with this caller?
There is a video online.
I know you're a conspiracy theorist.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, Brian. I've seen a video online where someone dressed like Antifa is literally handing out money to people and telling them what to do.
The FBI says Antifa's not involved, so that theory is
and a police officer told my mother in Omaha, Nebraska, that people are getting paid $25 an hour to cause chaos.
I'm sure that's a very credible police officer. Yes.
That is just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean it's not credible.
The
Brian.
FBI disagrees with you, so it's not credible.
Right. People are being paid to cause problems in the country.
I want to address the Bobby. You still on the line?
I'm still on. Let me go a different direction.
Hold on. I'll let you go a different direction. Just forgive me. Give me 20 seconds.
Go ahead. You're giving me the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So, Bob, we can disagree on things.
Okay, that's what we're talking about. We disagree.
Bob, that's okay. But here's where I get frustrated, Bob, with all due respect. You come up with these conspiracy theories that protesters are being paid. You come up with all these types of conspiracy theories, and you admit, I give you credit for that, you admit that you have zero evidence to back up your opinion. Why not come up with theories with some evidence to back it up? I don't understand, sir, people like you. You come up with a conspiracy theory that maybe George Soros is involved. You come up with these weird. Hold on,
Bob. Let me handle this one for you, Brian.
No. I don't need you to handle it.
So who do you think is escalating these situations, Brian?
I'm going to address Bob because I don't need you to ask me questions when Bob is on the line. Bob, do you understand where I'm coming from?
I hear where you're coming from.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me go one more different direction. You can go where you want on it.
Go ahead.
Sisolak, as far as I'm concerned, Victor Jex get an excellent article in the paper today. Sisolak did absolutely nothing. He let them start this thing. He let them get away with it. They damaged the buildings in Reno after they damaged it.
He let him start this thing. Hold on. Okay, let's go with that for a second. You just said Sisolak allowed them to start this thing and allowed them to get away with it. With all due respect, sir, what are you talking about?
He could have stopped in Reno. He could put the National Guard around these government buildings before Saturday.
The National Guard has not been implemented throughout the country. All right. Okay, Bob, listen, I appreciate your phone call, but I don't entertain – I'm sorry, I don't entertain conspiracy theories.
Yeah, good call, Bob. Yeah, and what you're saying is not a conspiracy theory at all.
Okay, 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's try to take a few more calls.
Sure,
let's go to Ralph. Ralph, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Ralph?
Ralph, go ahead. You're next on the Vegas Take. What's on your mind, man? Ralph, sounds like you're on your Obama phone. Let's go to Chris, 257-5396. Chris, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, Chris.
All right, we got Ralph back now. Chris, hang on the line. Ralph, you're next. What's going on? Ralph, you are Earth to Ralph. Ralph, are you there? Okay, it seems like we're having some issues with our phones. That's okay. We'll taking some other calls. There's other people waiting on hold. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Alex. Alex, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Alex?
I'm on an Obama phone from the moon, Brian. Listen, I got to tell you something. First thing I got to tell is the African American people that called. I honestly feel for what they're going through. I understand everything they've said. It's horrible. I hope there's really major changes as far as this police action on black people. That's not acceptable at all. There's 3 points I got to make sure that comes through real quick. Donald Trump, if I'm not mistaken, JD, you correct me. Didn't he receive an award from the Rainbow Coalition years ago? So how does that make him a racist? The other thing is
that is such
Brian,
a ridiculous statement you just made.
Saying that white people
hold
have
on.
in their genes.
Before we get to Van Jones, we're going to get to Donald Trump because Donald Trump received some sort of award years ago. You're telling me he can't be a racist? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I can give you 100 reasons why I think Donald Trump is a racist. That is a ridiculous statement you just made.
Well, okay. Well, you keep saying he's a racist, but let me go on the Van Jones.
Yeah, I do because I actually have evidence to back that up.
But actually, you want evidence to back up racism? Donald Trump's dad, Fred Trump, was arrested at a Klan rally in 1927.
Yeah, what a shocker!
Okay, that's actual evidence. Okay. If you want to use that's actual evidence.
I'm glad
that the Donald Trump's father, Fred Trump, was arrested at a Klan rally when he was 22 years old in 1927.
So good. So you're saying that it runs in the family.
I'm giving you an example of evidence.
That.
What you're talking about is not evidence.
It runs in the family. I appreciate it.
Absolutely not.
Go ahead, Bob. Thank you for making my point for me. Go ahead.
Your point. I just educated you.
Go ahead, sir. I don't need education from you. Go ahead.
Clearly you do.
Clearly I don't. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Don't
Sorry.
forget the Van Jones thing. But the other thing is I'd like to say is that after what I just said about how I should say clearly this. Unfortunately, a lot of people in the black community are not talking to the young people. That's my belief, and I told you guys yesterday. I grew up in L.A. and in some of the roughest areas, and I told you what happened to me. I'm not going to reiterate that, but I think myself, when I see a black person, I see a human being. But I'll tell you what, if I see a young man with their pants down to their knees, I'm not going to think they're decent people, just like a white guy with his pants down to his knees. So I think we've got to educate our kids to dress and give a good, positive image.
Alex, you're entitled to your opinion.
Obviously, for sure.
I understand, Alex, and I appreciate the phone call, and you're entitled to your opinion, but I find it very troubling that you would go up to someone and find a person a danger or troubling if their pants are down, but yet you want to defend Donald Trump because he received an award 20 years ago. It's absurd. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Juan. Juan, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Juan?
Hi, how you guys doing?
Good.
I just started listening to your station about a week ago, and I find it amazing. You guys doing a really, really good job over there.
Hey, thank you.
Well, I'm Mexican. I come from Mexico City about 30 years ago to this amazing country. It's a lot of opportunities for everybody. You know, this country is built on immigration, and we're hardworking people. And it's kind of really sad for me seeing this type of situations happening, you know, to a minority. I used to live in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I used to go to that club when this gentleman used to work. And
Oh,
it's
you
kinda
did?
sad,
Okay.
Yes. And you know what this reminds me? The way they use the police, the brutality police in this country, it's kind of the third world country. It's the same thing.
You're right.
In my
Juan,
country,
can I ask you something? Juan, I agree with you. Can I ask you something? How long ago was it that you were at this club? Did you ever see this officer that was a security guard there? And did you ever see George Floyd there?
No, actually, no. I've been
Gotcha.
here in Vegas about 15 years.
Do you think
Already
racism,
here.
understood, do you think racism is a huge issue there? And did you see it yourself with your own eyes?
Yes. I'm talking about 15 years ago over there, and yeah.
So it's been going on there
and
for a
not just
while
there,
then.
You know,
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
over the place.
You're right.
And
You're right.
And it's kind of weird because we're in 2020. You know,
You're
grown
right.
people, they have to wake up. This
Juan,
country is built
you're
on
right.
immigration.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Juan, I wanted to ask you one more question, Juan. I'm sorry if we could keep you on the line here for one
Go
second. As a man from Mexico, what did you think when Donald Trump said these people, they're rapists, they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people? What went through your mind as a good man? You sound like a very smart man and an educated man. What did you think when the President of the United States said that about your people?
This guy is funny. I cannot have the words to describe his personality. For me, you know, it's bad. He judged everybody based probably on one or two. Well, not one or two. There's a few bad apples out there. You know.
Right.
I'm
exactly.
not going to say that Mexicans. Oh, we're Mexicans were good people.
Sure. No,
You know,
understood.
bad
Sure.
apples in every single race per se.
And if he said
You know?
that, Juan, if he phrased it differently, he said there are some bad apples. We want to get those bad apples, but the majority of the people of Mexico are good people. I would have had no problem with that, and I'm sure you wouldn't have either. Juan, I got to get to some of the other calls, my friend.
Sounds
but
good.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much for
guys.
listening. We appreciate you, Juan.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Juan.
Thank you for listening. Appreciate that. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Bob. Bob, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Bob?
Yeah, hi, guys. I totally agree with JD, and he brought up a point that very few people talk about. And in 2019, there was 28 people who were unarmed, who were killed by police officers, all of the killings and shootings were justified. And of the 28 people, 9 of them were African American, all of which were justified, and that's for the entire 2019.
Agreed.
Now, African American people, there was over 7,400 African American people who were killed, 90% of which were black on black murders.
It's actually it's 93%.
You hear very little about that, but you have one rotten cop, bad cop, and a whole.
Okay, let me respond. Let me respond to what you just said. Your facts that you gave me about the deaths are right. This isn't just about police officers killing African Americans. You need to understand that.
You just said it was.
If I could just finish. This isn't about African Americans getting killed by cops. It's also about injustice. It's about harassment. It's about African Americans being mistreated, being pulled over for no reason. I've seen it myself. Okay? I am not suggesting that black on black crime is not a huge issue, because it is. And you're right. I wish that our African American leaders would discuss that more, because Chicago is a war zone. But with that being said, sir, it doesn't justify minorities and the way they have been treated by police officers for hundreds of years. This isn't just about black men getting killed. It just so happens that George Floyd was murdered. It's about police injustice, whether it comes to someone getting roughed up, whether it gets to somebody going to jail for a long period of time for something they didn't do, or maybe a minor infraction.
Kamala Harris did that a lot.
This has to do with a systemic racism in this country. Sir, I wish you just wouldn't focus on just the deaths, but do you understand where I'm going with this, sir?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you. But the main problem is being ignored in what I view as being a minor problem when you're looking at deaths anyway. You know, and you
but
don't
they're
look
not
at
just
peripheral
talking about. But
points.
Bob, I get what you're saying, but you have to hear me on this. They're not just Black Lives Matter. They're not just talking about deaths and murder. They're also talking about injustice. They're talking about unlawful arrest. They're talking about people getting roughed up. That happens in this country every single day.
Brian, I've been roughed up by police officers, and I'm as wide as they come.
Does that warrant people coming into my house and burning it down or burning
Absolutely
so
down
let me
around my
respond.
house?
Let me respond. Did I condone any of that behavior, sir?
What's that?
Did I condone any of that behavior? Have I ever
No,
done
you
that?
didn't. But I mean, that's the whole point of this. Is that
No,
one
it's
person-
not. See, this is where you're. This is no. I'm not going to let you get away with that, sir. With all due respect, that is
Well,
not the point of this. Hold on. The majority of these people are not burning down buildings. The majority of Black Lives Matter are not ruining businesses. They're not violent people. Now, there are some bad actors out there, no question, and they're scumbags. They're scum of the earth. But to suggest that this is all about ruining your property and all these people are about committing crimes is not factually accurate. We need to be accurate
Brian,
when we talk about this.
It looks like the goalposts have been moved from justice for George Floyd to something completely different.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Which is now this outrage or this spark, the death of George Floyd, obviously, and he was charged with third-degree murder. Now it's second-degree murder. Now that is the goalposts have been moved to something totally
I don't
different.
know what you're talking about.
Can I finish? I don't care if you know what I'm talking about. Let me finish.
What? Tell me. What is this about?
I just tried to. You won't let me do it.
Well, tell me. What is this about?
You go, Brian. It's fine.
No, go ahead. If you don't think
No.
this is about police and justice since day one, then please tell me.
I'm curious why Black Lives Matter isn't outraged about every single death that occurs across the country from African Americans in general. I mean, again, a very good point.
That's not what this is about right now. That's not why they're protesting.
Yes, it is about that, Brian.
What are you talking? Okay, so you know what they're. Oh, jeez. Okay, all right. Let's get back to the phone calls.
So if this is
From day one.
if this is all about police brutality.
Yes, it is about injustice that minorities have faced in this country. Black-on-black crime is also a huge issue, but that is not why they are protesting this week. They are protesting because of police brutality.
That looks ridiculous to the general public because so much death is occurring across the country.
You're changing the subject, and you're saying they're changing the goalposts.
I'm not. They are. The goalposts have been moved.
What are you talking about? From day one,
my question is
not true.
What is the end game? What's trying to be accomplished here? Police oversight. That's going to happen regardless.
That question
Minneapolis Police Department has been exposed as racist.
That question has been answered.
But Brian, how could relations get better if a dozen plus cops have been severely injured and people in Brooklyn, people all over the country are attacking police officers? For no reason. How is any of that going to help racial relations between police officers? And because I've seen a lot of people online.
I want to get to other calls, man. There's other people on hold. I want to get to other calls. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to David. David, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, how are you doing today? I would like to make 2 points without being interrupted.
Okay.
All right, my first point, in a land of narcissistic assumptions being hypocritical, I would like to make an assumption that you made, and then the next day you changed your tune in history. I would like to use your own words against you.
Okay, quickly. We only have about 45 seconds, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. A man walks into somebody else's house, man or woman, and shoots them dead. You said, that's manslaughter. The next day you said, that's murder. Take race out of it.
I don't understand your question. I really don't.
When the lady comes into the house and shoots the black man, white lady, the first day you said it's manslaughter, she was confused. The next day you say it's murder. You're a hypocrite, and that's what you're spreading. I
have no idea what you're talking about. You're not making any sense. What do you mean I'm a hypocrite?
My sense is made in history. If you look back onto your streams, this is what you said, man.
I have no idea what you're talking about, sir. Call back when we have more time, and I will entertain your ridiculous. I don't understand what your point is. I really, really don't. I don't understand what you're saying. I'm very consistent with my opinions. I'm very clear on them, and it's not my fault that you do not understand them. I've been very clear on that. I've been clear about people, what's manslaughter and what's murder. I'm pretty clear on that. We're following the breaking news. It appears as though these other 3 officers are going to be charged within the next hour or two. What we do know is that the officer that was involved in this thing has been charged, and it's now gone to second-degree murder. It's gone from third-degree murder to second-degree murder. So we're going to continue to monitor that on the show tomorrow, and we're going to continue to follow that. Also, we will also be covering Steve King. Steve King is out as a congressman.